Hello, this is Jason from the Edge of Midnight channel. This video is all about dialysis. To be more specific, peritoneal dialysis. My wife went on dialysis 18 months ago, when her kidneys failed completely. Unfortunately, there was no chance of a transplant, because whatever did the damage to her own kidneys was still there. And seeing as her kidneys failed within a month, and the doctors expected her kidneys to last a year or maybe even 2, having a new kidney or kidneys and going through that kind of major operation for Paola was an impossibility. Too many chances of things going wrong. So we went on to peritoneal dialysis. The reason we chose it was the easiest one to do at home. And nobody likes to be in hospital. Nobody wants to be visiting hospital all week. And the chances of catching a bug, picking up an infection, is much higher in hospitals. So we made the choice almost as soon as they offered it to have peritoneal dialysis. Now, peritoneal dialysis is an interesting thing, because what you're basically doing, there's a lining around your abdomen area called the peritoneal. I'm not a doctor, so if I make any mistakes, my apology. But this is what I got taught. Now, you can use that lining as a filter. So what you do is you fill up your body with a certain type of liquid, which draws out the toxins and the excess liquid in your body. And then you remove that liquid. That is the essence of peritoneal dialysis. You're basically using your lining as a substitute for your kidneys. It's amazing, though it can be done in any way. You can't have it done, or it's harder to do, if you've had stomach surgery. I couldn't have it done, because with them having to cut my stomach open to get to my bowel cancer, my peritoneal lining is severely scarred. And scarring doesn't allow for the transfer of fluid or the toxins. Thankfully, Paola had never had an operation on her stomach, and therefore it went well. Now, there's many things that you have to wrap your head around with peritoneal dialysis. The positives is you can do it at home. You can do it on your own. They're very hesitant to allow you to do something called hemodialysis at home. The reason is, hemodialysis is the one you see in most of the movies, with the big machine that takes your blood, cleans it and puts it back in you. The problem is, if you do it at home on your own, if you faint because of blood loss or dehydration while it is going on, there's safety systems in place, but there's risks with hemodialysis at home. That's why most people go into hospitals 3 times or 4 times a week and have it done there. But with a bit of help, peritoneal dialysis is perfect to do at home. One of its big benefits is it only usually has to be on at night. So what you'd do is you'd prepare it all, and then 9 or 10 o'clock at night, when you decide when you're going to start it, you start the machine up once it's plugged into you and all prepared, and you go to bed. The machine does make a noise, but you get used to it. Paula was able to sleep through it. I sometimes slept downstairs in the living room, which we converted into her bedroom. But let me explain a basic day. I'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then she'd let me know when the dialysis was finished. I'd go downstairs, disconnect her, which is a simple turn the machine off, press a few buttons, make a note of the volume of liquid that has passed through, because you always got to balance it. When your kidneys fail, your body can't remove liquid anymore. So the only liquid that goes out is via the dialysis, and if you're still going to the toilet slightly. But so you have to really limit the amount of liquid going in. And every day I'd have to text the nurses and let them know how much. And we'd go from there. Each day we balance what she would be on, whether it would be a different coloured bag. Anyway, once she was disconnected, I would empty what was left in the main bags, take the rest to the sink, cut open the bags and let it drain out, and then throw out the plastic waste. We decided straight away that in the morning we'd set it up for night. This means that the entire day is our own. If I prime the system, because that's what it's called, as in setting up the new bags, getting everything ready at 9 o'clock in the morning, it means for the rest of the day, no matter what happens, if I fell over, if I had a problem, Paula could just reconnect herself at 10 o'clock at night. Fine. The only part that Paula couldn't do was move the bags around. These bags are something like 1,500 millilitres, and that's a lot of weight, and you're putting together 3, 4, 5, 6 of these bags. It all depends what they are, because we were with the Fresenius make. The Fresenius make had 5,000 millilitres bags, and of course 5,000 millilitres is 5 kilograms. So if you have 4 bags on the system to cycle through the body during the night, that's 20 kilograms in weight, plus whatever else it pulls out. So Paula couldn't set those up. I had to bring them in and set them up. But anybody who's got a bit of strength could. You got to remember, by this time Paula had already had 18 years of being disabled and muscle wastage. And so I did all the heavy lifting. So I'd set up all the bags, you go through the system. It has a huge amount of error checking built in. It's extremely safe. The system is amazing, the way it sets itself up. And once it's all primed, then we're free for the day. We can go out, do anything we want, go in the wheel. I could take her in the wheelchair to the park or down to the canal if she was feeling up to it. The big thing is, though, Cleanliness. You have to keep your house hygienically cleaned. Whenever I was doing the dialysis, the dogs would be put upstairs out of the way. And you wash your hands in a specific way, and they teach you really well. They will not sign off on you. They will not let you go home with the system and set it up and do anything like that unless they are sure that you can handle it. It took us 3 days to be trained in the hospital. But they teach you how to scrub your hands. They give you the special kind of soap. Big tip: get yourself a moisturizer. Your hands, skin will go like paper after using the Hibby scrub for a long period of time. And the thing is, during the situation of setting it up, you have to clean your hands in 3 different ways. The first hand cleaning is what they call the normal one, where you use basic cheap washing up liquid. On a rag, you wipe down everything. You don't need an antibacterial. You don't need anything major for that. They will even say use a Tesco value soap, and you just wipe everything down that you're going to be touching in any way, shape or form before you do anything else. Wipe the machine down. Another reason for using a mild soap is so that it doesn't damage the machine. Some of the harsher cleaners can crack the plastic and damage it over time. So that's your first one. Once you've done that, then you can start moving out the boxes of the fluids and setting them up. But you don't open them yet, you just put them on the side. Then you go and give your hands a 2-minute Hibby scrub wash in hot water. They teach you how to do the wash, and once your hands are washed, then you are clean. You do not touch anything. You put your fingers together, or you hold them up like you sometimes see in medical dramas, where a surgeon will walk around with his hands in the air. That's so that he doesn't accidentally touch his nose or brush against another person, because if he does, he's no longer sterile. He's got to go back and wash again. And that is what you have to view it as. You come back in the room, and then comes the second stage. You open up the boxes and you unseal the bags. The bags are inside a separate bag. They're all within clean bags of their own, sealed. So you open the outside bag, then you rub your hands with alcohol wipe. It's a special type of alcohol rub that dries off quickly. But so you double in it, and you do it twice. Every time you've touched the outside of anything to do with dialysis, you wash your hands in this alcohol mix, and you do it twice. I like to think of it like double tapping a zombie in the head. You shoot it once and you shoot it again, just to make sure. You want to make sure that you don't carry any kind of germs on you. This may sound complicated, but they teach you the methodology of it, so you do it all in turn, and once you've got it down, it just becomes natural. And then you take the items out, put them in the machine, connect everything up. Each time you go for pick up a new item, you do your hands again, just to make sure. Because the biggest danger is infection. Just like in hospital and at home, it's sometimes easy to forget. It is the big horror story when it comes to peritoneal dialysis. You can get peritonitis. You are basically pumping liquid straight into your stomach lining. If you introduce an infection to that line, it will go straight into the body, and you will have to follow what they call, well, basically get to the accident emergency straight away. You don't mess around with it. But there's signs to show that it's happening. They say to watch out for if the liquid that comes out is milky. That shows that there's white cells and that dying in liquid. But it's different than a little bit of flotsam. It's you can tell when you're infected. So you just go into a routine. By the second month, I wasn't even having to think about it. I'd come down, I'd do each stage in turn. Every stage had its place. I optimized it to fit around everything we did. And it actually worked really well. The peritoneal dialysis had nothing whatsoever to do with Paula dying. The people who trained us, the people who were our support staff, were amazing. I could even text the nurse at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's amazing. Sorry, just having a drink. And so it gave us a lot of freedom that year, because when peritoneal dialysis and dialysis in general is working, it can never be as good as your kidneys. Look after your bloody kidneys, really do. You'd be amazed at what your kidneys do for you. And unfortunately, they don't replace themselves if they're gone. You really will miss them. But the actual dialysis, it always made her feel better. Once we got the balance right, because everybody's unique. They have different coloured fluids that will take out more stuff. But the problem is this. The fluids are glucose based, so they can draw the liquid and the toxins out of the body. The toxins and the excess liquid in the body attach to them and are drawn through the lining and can't go back through. But as I said, everybody's different. You can have what's called green bags, and there's one higher up than that. I think it's called a purple bag, but it's more powerful and it will draw out more, but it's got a higher glucose content. And not only is that a problem for people with diabetes, it's a problem because the glucose crystals, if you use too many of the really powerful bags, can clog up the openings in the peritoneal lining. So yes, it'll get the weight down. Yes, you'll get rid of more liquid. Yes, you'll get rid of more toxins. But by using them too much, the green bags, you cause your peritoneal lining to slowly stop being able to do its job, and you have to go on to hemo. So there's a lot to it, but I am so thankful that Paola got to go on peritoneal, because like a lot of people in these situations, they don't have very good immune systems, and the idea of going into hospital 3 times a week, 8 hours at a time for hemodialysis, that was far more scary than being at home. You can always message me on the videos or the channel if you want to know more about peritoneal dialysis. I am still amazed at what it does. Using a part of your body that was never meant to be used in this way to keep you alive, to keep you going. And there's people out there who've been on peritoneal dialysis for 12, 13 years. And you can have things like free weekends where once they get you sorted on it and it works well, they don't have to do it for a weekend. Or if it doesn't work as well as you want it to, then you can bring in a day bag, which is a small amount of liquid that goes inside you during the day and absorbs during the day as well. But you don't usually have to have that. Now, the other good thing about peritoneal dialysis is, especially in the UK, your NHS home team that will keep an eye on you are absolutely amazing. If you're going to go away to a hotel in the UK, you ring them up and they will order the equipment and have it delivered. Apart from your machine, I'm talking all the supplies to that hospital, closest hospital, or the hotel. So you can go away with peritoneal dialysis. As long as you plan it beforehand and give them thingy, they will get the stuff to wherever it's got to go. And you yourself, if it's only a 3, 4, 5 day trip, can contact the hotels. And most hotels in the UK these days will have a cold room or an area where you can store your stuff, and they will be more than happy to arrange things for you. So you can go there, do your dialysis at night, and be on holiday. This is amazing. And that brings me to the actual company, Fresenius. I never dealt with Baxter, but Fresenius, I'm going to have trouble with that word. Fresenius, the one that did ours, they look after you really well. To put it in a pragmatic way, you're a customer. The NHS is paying them money, but they are very good and they look after you well, and you'll have a case manager who will contact you, because you have to keep 30 days worth of all the fluids and everything in your house. Another warning, you will need a lot of space. These boxes of fluid are big, and you will need 30 days worth, and you will end up with 50, 60, 70 boxes in your house, because they'll start you on saying, oh, you need 15 yellow and 15 green. But then the doctor will say, okay, we need to try something new, so you'll need more green. So they have to send another 15 green out. But they don't take back the yellow because you're still using it. And then there's all the little cassettes and everything that plug into the machine that are all only one use. So my house, my bedroom upstairs, which turned out to be the virtual reality room once she died, was like a medical warehouse. I had boxes stacked everywhere. If you think about it, each box is 2.5 foot long by 1.5 foot wide by 8 inches high, something like that, and there's 30 of those at least. Just having a bit more drink. And so it's the storage of all the items, and a lot of people don't realise that. You can store, you just have to store them somewhere where it doesn't get too cold, doesn't get too hot. I used our cubby hole and the upstairs bedroom. But remember, wherever you're going to have your dialysis, you've got to move 20 kilograms worth of weight to where you're going to do the dialysis, and from there to the bathroom to get rid of it, or the outside grid, wherever you decide. It's basically just glucose liquid that you're flushing down. So it can go down the sink, it can go down the toilet, it can go down the shower, it can go anywhere. But you also got to realise something else. You're going to have a huge amount of cardboard boxes. Now, our local council provides recycle boxes. So you just ring them up, they tell you all this, and they'll give you out a new box. They give us 2 bins. Sorry. And those bins were always full right to the top, no matter what I did. I actually invested in an incinerator in the backyard so that I could burn the cardboard boxes. I know it's not eco-friendly, but when you've got 2 huge boxes every single day And those 2 boxes on their own would probably fill up a normal bin, outside bin. You just can't calculate how much. So I just started to use an incinerator in the backyards to burn them. Every night I would go out at 8 o'clock at night and burn a couple of boxes. If anybody's concerned about having peritoneal dialysis, understand this. Yes, there's risks, but those risks are down to you. You're saying, I can look after myself. You're taking responsibility for keeping it clean, for not doing any shortcuts in setting up the machine. The positive side is you get your own life back. You don't have to go to hospital 3 times a week. And I know many people who are on peritoneal dialysis who have never got an infection. My apology for the dogs. Anyway, I'm going to cut this short now. Hopefully that helps anybody who is thinking about peritoneal dialysis. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments. This is Jason Alcock for the Edge of Midnight channel.